I'm Robert Diaz of the University of Florida, reporting for Varsity Sports Show. Today is the 4th of July. Today, we are celebrating those who have served and kept our country free. What we celebrate on the 4th of July is America's independence and becoming the best nation in the world and staying free through the sacrifices of our service members. Those who have served in our military and all the branches have kept us safe and have kept us as as a free nation, the number one country in the world. This, as many have said, including who I interviewed, freedom is not free. It's earned through the blood, sweat, and tears of our soldiers, maintained so that way we could say that we are a free nation, one of the best countries on earth. Today, we're going to have a special with all kinds of veterans from all different backgrounds, all different ages, all people who have served our country and who are proud of their service. We are proud of their service and want to salute all service members this 4th of July. So enjoy all these interviews curated by the Varsity Sports Show. Now we have Doug Santo interviewing his grandfather, Michael Santo, who is a U.S. Army veteran.
I'm Douglas Santo from the Cronkite School of Journalism at ASU, reporting for the Varsity Sports Show. This week I had the chance to sit down with my pop-pop, who served in the U.S. Army. We got to talk about his experience in the military, and here's our interview. I'm joined by my grandfather, who I call Pop-Pop, but his name is Michael Santo. Thank you for joining me, Pop-Pop. So this week we're talking about 4th of July and Independence Day. With you serving in the military, what does Independence Day mean to you?
Okay, my thoughts about the 4th of July as a veteran. Our independence, freedom from control of another country. The original colonists took up arms for their independence and freedom from Great Britain. They were truly heroes. The United States continued to fight for independence and freedom in World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I was fortunate to be drafted into the Army in 1956 to serve my country between the Korean War and the Vietnam War. This was a period called the Cold War between the Korean and Vietnam War. That was the Cold War when the United States and Russia were bumping heads. I had a 6-year obligation to my country, 2 years active duty, 2 years active reserves, and 2 years inactive reserves. I served in Germany from 1956 to 1958, and I saw still bombed out buildings as the United States helped Germany to get back on its feet as an independent democratic nation instead of as a dictated nation under Hitler. I felt proud to be serving my country. Many times I felt sad thinking of the many servicemen who died while serving their country. Particularly one night when I was in training, when bombs were going off, and I thought, wow, this is what soldiers went through during wartime. I thought those were the true heroes who gave up their lives for their country. The United States is still supporting independence and freedom as they're providing aid to Ukraine, the people, as they're fighting for their freedom against Putin, who is trying to destroy and take over their country. These people are very brave as they try to defend their independence and freedom. As I said, my thoughts about the 4th of July as a veteran is independence and freedom for all. And that's my statement.
That was awesome, Pop. So you said you were drafted in 1956, and you went into the Army. Did you choose to go into the Army, or was that the branch that you were?
That was the branch I was drafted into.
Okay.
I was an E2. I was a supply clerk. when I was discharged and went into the active reserves, I received my sergeant stripes because I was a supply sergeant.
What was the biggest takeaway while you were over in Germany?
What do you mean, take away?
Maybe like lesson learned or biggest impact that it had onto you?
Well, I guess the maneuvers we went on, the night marches we went on, we would be awakened out of bed and we were going on a night march and we had to load up the 2-ton trucks. Some had the ammunition on it. I guess I didn't say to you, I was in the 10th Infantry Division, the 69th Armor. So I was in a tank battalion. I never was inside a tank because I was a supply sergeant. Well, I was a supply clerk in Germany and then became a supply sergeant in the reserves. And we would go out on a night march. And you're saying about something really that stands out? Well, I was sitting in the passenger side and the driver was driving this 2-ton truck with the ammunition for the tank. And we were driving for a long, long time and he got tired and said, "Would you drive?" And I said, "Sure." So he got in the passenger side, I got in the driver's side and took off. And after a short while, we saw flames coming from under the truck. Here he had put the brake on, the emergency brake, and I did not release it. And therefore, I thought, oh boy, that's the end of us. We're going to be exploding with all this ammunition. Well, he jumped out of that truck so fast with a fire extinguisher and he just shut that fire down. And then he got behind the wheel and drove and never asked me again to drive. So if you're looking for something exciting or frightening, that was it.
Yeah, that is a very crazy story. Um, if they're looking back on all of it, would you have changed anything about when you're drafted, what you did, any of your time in the military?
No, I was a young man that never left my hometown. I was drafted, inducted into Fort Dix, New Jersey, flown out to Fort Ord, California for basic training, advanced training. From there, I was shipped back to the East Coast and transported to Germany in a troop ship. Now they fly everybody over the place, but that was a 14-day of agony. I was sick from the day I got off. No, I shouldn't say that. Till the day I got off. But one morning I woke up, I said, "Boy, I slept good last night." And the guy next to me said, "Yeah, because they stopped in St. John, Newfoundland, because they had a dependent on that needed insulin." So that was another experience because they put us all down below and flew over with a helicopter and dropped insulin for this dependent. Because in addition to the troops, they were transporting dependents to Germany.
I know once you got back, you were able to utilize the GI Bill for
No,
school. No?
no. The, that period of Cold War was not covered. We were not covered by the GI Bill. I saved my money when I was in Germany. When I came home, I worked for another 2 years, earned sufficient that I thought I could make my way through college, took the entrance exam. I said, if I can get into college, I'll do my 4 years. So I had passed the entrance exam and got my 4-year degree. In fact, I even got that was my bachelor's degree, my teaching certificate, and 2 more years, I got my master's degree in education. And then they came out with a GI Bill for those of us that were left out those couple of years. So I did do 9 credits at Temple University in Philadelphia. And that's when your brother was born.
No, because
I'm sorry. I was thinking your your father Michael was born in 1970. And I said, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go to teach all day, carry my lunch, eat it in the car as I drove to Temple, and take my classes and drive back home and not see my son. So I did 9 credits, and that's what the GI Bill paid for. Now I said to Graham, you want to go back to school with me? She said, no way. She had her master's, she had her bachelor's in education, she had her master's in education, and she said, no way. So that's as far as I got, 9 credits toward my doctorate. They would not, you won't get any more unless you matriculated in the doctorate program. So I didn't do that because I wanted to see Michael.
Right. Okay.
And be with my family.
Okay, perfect, Pop. Thank you.
It's always been my pleasure. So thank you for thinking of me, Douglas. And
Of course.
I hope this works out good for you.
Thank you for listening to my interview with my Pop. For the Varsity Sports Show, I'm Douglas Santo.
Thank you for that, Doug. And now we have Mark Buerger interviewing Navy veteran Tabitha Eden.
Hello, everyone. This is Mark Buerger from the University of Wisconsin-Madison reporting for the Varsity Sports Show. This week is Independence Week. 4th of July is coming up. And I have the great opportunity to talk to my cousin here, Tabitha Eden. How's it going with you?
Great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. Can you just explain? I know you said earlier before the interview that you retired just a couple of months ago, but could you just briefly explain to our viewers here about what you did?
Sure. I am now a Navy veteran. I joined the Navy about 30 years ago. That sounds kind of crazy to say, but I joined the Navy right out of high school, and I was a Navy nurse on active duty in the reserves for a total of 26 years after being a midshipman for 4, and I just retired from service 2 months ago.
Well, that's very awesome to hear. Thank you so much for serving our country. We know that all Americans here really do appreciate that. But I just want to ask you, what does Independence Day mean to you? I know it can mean different things to different people, whether they have served or not. But I'm just curious as the time of recording this on Tuesday and 4th of July is on Thursday, what does the 4th of July mean to you?
Well, I feel like the 4th of July is a really patriotic holiday like others, like Veterans Day and Memorial Day. So for me, I feel like the 4th of July or Independence Day is really just an opportunity for us to take a pause and really think about the freedoms that we have living in this country, and to just be really grateful for all the opportunities that we have. As well as, the other things that come along with the great holiday, like having the chance to spend time with family and friends and eating good food and things like that. It really does remind me personally just to take that pause and think about what it really means.
Well, that's very awesome to hear. Obviously, for me, I know I'm definitely not a veteran, but I love to bond with family and just be so grateful for the sacrifices that all of you guys, including you, Tabitha, that you've made. Also, another question here, just about 2.5 minutes into this. What is your advice for people that want to serve? Young people that I'm not serving at all, but just maybe younger people that are like my age, about like 22 years old, in college. Maybe they do want to serve eventually. So for any viewers here at the Varsity Sports Show that may be considering to serve, what's your advice to them?
Well, I would just say, because I was a little bit younger than that when I decided. And honestly, it wasn't something I had put a ton of thought into before I became, 18 or 19 years old. So I would just say if you have any interest in it to just reach out to maybe others that have been or are currently serving in the military and ask them questions about what they do and, you know, what kind of things the military has brought to them as far as opportunities. There's great things like education and obviously traveling and great experiences, um, helping you choose a career path and giving you tools that you can use later on when you're no longer in the military that can help you kind of continue to build on that career. So I would say ask a lot of questions. And then if you continue to be interested, definitely reach out to a recruiter and just meet with them and see what opportunities are available. And I would just say not to be scared and to kind of push yourself and do things that are a little bit scary sometimes. That's usually where people find the most, pleasure in their life and really push themselves to see what they're capable of achieving, which is, really kind of cool.
Well, it's very awesome to hear. Just one final question for you, Tabitha. Um, I know that people that have gone through the military, the Navy, whatever, that they've changed as a person and as an American. I'm just curious how the Navy for you, how it changed you, not just as a person, but just as an American citizen of this country.
Oh, wow. Well, there's probably a million different ways that it changed me. Like I said, I joined right out of high school. So I think over time, obviously, it made me a much more responsible person than I was when I was 18 and decided to join. It's given me a lot of great educational opportunities. So I've really grown as far as my knowledge base being in the military. Um, I think that, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it really changed my mindset as far as pushing myself to do things that were frightening, to really stretch myself as far as goals and things that I could achieve. And it's just made me really thankful. I had the opportunity in my career to travel to many different countries, see how other people live in those countries, and see the differences as far as freedoms that they have compared to us. So, for that reason, it's really made me think a lot and reflect a lot more about, just how lucky we are to be living here and to be grateful for that and to really be thankful for people who kind of, take the time and really dedicate their lives to fighting for those freedoms. So I think those are just a couple of the ways that it's changed me over time.
Well, it's awesome to hear, Tabitha. Well, thank you so much for joining the interview call, and I I wish you a very happy 4th of July. May God bless all the veterans, your friends, and your family. And again, this is Mark Buerger from the University of Wisconsin-Madison reporting for the Varsity Sports Show.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for that, Mark. And now, my interview with Navy veteran Ruben Plaza. I'm Robert Diaz of the Varsity Sports Show reporting. I'm here with Ruben Plaza, a Navy veteran. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Really honored to talk to someone who served, getting this close to the 4th of July. Can you share a memorable experience from your time in the Navy that highlights the spirit of patriotism and service to our country?
Absolutely. So when I was in, this is actually before I was commissioned, when I was still doing ROTC in college, my freshman year, in between my freshman and sophomore year, what we call our third class cruise, I had the chance to visit Seattle and a couple other cities on the West Coast. I was aboard a ship for about a month. And just what I remember, that was my first experience, naval experience, and what I remember is just the warm welcome that we got everywhere we went, the camaraderie among my fellow sailors and officers, and just sharing the sense of duty that we had together for this country, and to this day, I remember that time as being part of the Navy and feeling a sense of pride of serving my country. Another time I will say also was when I was living in Washington D.C. while I was in the Navy after being commissioned. Getting to spend the 4th of July on the National Mall in Washington D.C. was just a great experience. Just a sense of patriotism with my fellow Americans, watching the fireworks right by the National Monument, seeing the White House on the other side of the mall, seeing the Lincoln Memorial, seeing the Capitol. It was just a wonderful experience. Just a sense of like I would not have been there if I was not serving the Navy at the time, and just the sense of patriotism that I felt was just wonderful.
Thank you so much. That's a great answer. I mean, I love that those experiences really were able to get you from going to ROTC to serving, and they're a really good transition. And how do you feel your service in the Navy has shaped your perspective of the importance of freedom and independence that we celebrate on the 4th of July?
It's a great question. My answer to that is, and it sounds perhaps a little overused, but I think is very true. Freedom is not free, right? The fact of the matter is, going back to the Revolutionary War, our freedom is paid for in blood, and I feel that having served my country in that, I share in that. Although I didn't have to make a sacrifice myself, the fact of the matter is, serving my country made me feel like there was a shared sense of duty about protecting our freedom, making sure that whatever I do always recalls the fact that from a freedom perspective, it's just not given. You have to earn it. You have to, it's not free, like I said. One of the things that I do today is to continue that sense of duty and the sense of what freedom means is I actually still mentor about to be military veterans to help them transition from that military life to the civilian life, especially from a career perspective, and the sense of shared patriotism is just amazing. And to me, that what this 4th of July represents is the fact that there's so many sacrifices that people have made and continue to make, and I try to continue that with the mentorship that I participate in for these military folks that are about to be civilians.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I love how you're giving back to your community and how you're mentoring those who may have a hard time, with that transition, which has been talked about a lot, because it seems like it's a very big gap from going from possibly a much more structured time in your life to going to a much more unstructured time with more uncertainty. What message would you like to convey to the younger generations about the significance of serving one's country and the values we commemorate on Independence Day?
I would say that if you have the chance, if you have the attitude that's something that you want to do, I fully support that. I think that more people should serve, to understand that, again, like as I said before, freedom isn't free, and it requires people to be willing to give up their lives for this country. And so I would say that, if it's something that you really want to do, you have any interest in doing so, do it. There is a sense of brotherhood and camaraderie from serving the military that is really hard to replicate anywhere else. And like I said, if you're going to do it, do it. And knowing full well that you could make the ultimate sacrifice for this country. I think it's a wonderful thing to serve your country. It gives you a different sense, get a different perspective on what freedom means, what patriotism means, what living in the United States means. The sense of freedom that we have that's not necessarily enjoyed universally in the world. So I would say that if you have the chance and you want to defend our freedom, you should go for it.
And let's just say someone is unfamiliar with the 4th of July. How would you explain it to them if, someone from outside the country, like a simple explanation for why we celebrate and why we take the day off and what we do that day.
Yeah, it's a celebration and a commemoration for all the sacrifices that people made, especially during the Revolutionary War, to gain our freedom from tyranny. Many people just don't understand that tyranny is way easier than freedom. And on Independence Day, we celebrate that ability, that independence that we have earned, like I said before, in blood.
This has been Robert Diaz of the Varsity Sports Show from the University of Florida. Thank you so much for your time this evening. And now Reilly Robertson will be interviewing Blake Robinson, current Army recruiter.
Welcome to the Varsity Sports Show. I'm Reilly Robertson from Arizona State. Today, I am interviewing my cousin, Blake Robertson. He has served in the Army for the past 7 years and is a current Army recruiter. Here's a little bit about his story.
Okay, so as you know, being my cousin, I grew up in the Dallas area, and I went to college beforehand, and it didn't necessarily go as planned. I didn't do super great, and honestly, part of it was I didn't like it at all, and I thought that there was kind of like a bigger calling. My father was a police officer, so I thought, what is the best thing that's going to get me where I need to be, get me to the maturity level, give me discipline? And I was like, well, what better than the Army? So I walked into the Lewisville, Texas recruiting office. I said, hey, I want to be a military police officer in the Army, and that's what I've been for the last 7 years. I've served in Kansas, I've served in South Korea. I've served in Germany, Italy, and Georgia is the most recent one. And now my current duty position is as a Army recruiter in Sherman, Texas, which is a little bit north of Dallas. It's pretty close to Oklahoma. I think it's been an outstanding impact. I would recommend it to anybody. Regardless of where you came from, I think it could totally set you up for success, no matter what your situation is.
That's perfect. I know obviously it's meant a lot to you to be able to take your time and serve in the Army and do all the stuff you've been doing. But kind of what does the 4th of July mean to you, and why should people like me celebrate it?
So the 4th of July to me, I think it hits a little bit different for service members because it is, we're celebrating our country, and I was very patriotic growing up. I think that's ultimately what led me to serve in the military versus going to college, which I am. The military provides that. I am finishing up, which is a great service that we have. But I love serving this great nation. I love serving next to my brothers and sisters that are also serving for this great nation. And 4th of July is a great, great holiday for us to kind of recognize that. I know we have a bunch of holidays that are for veterans and all that kind of stuff. But 4th of July is a good one. It makes me really, really proud, especially as a member of the armed services.
Okay, perfect. And then just tell me kind of your favorite memory that you've had over the past 7 years.
So I have can I do 2? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the first one, I don't know. Do you know what the Army Airborne is? Have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
So I am, like I said, I'm an MP. There's really no use for airborne, but I always thought it was really cool, right? And so I told all my leadership the whole time, hey, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. And they were like, no, you can't, we need you. You can't. Finally, 2 years ago, I did get the opportunity, and I went and jumped out of an airplane. And after I did that 5 times at school, and then I graduated school, and now I've jumped a couple more times after that. And that's been the coolest thing ever. And then Germany was the other one. I got to work alongside the German police, and that was, I don't know if you know anything about the Polizei, but they are some incredible, incredible police officers. And that was just an invaluable experience that I think the general public doesn't necessarily get to have. And I enjoyed every second of it. It was awesome.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. That was Blake Robertson, current Army recruiter and my cousin. Thank you so much for listening to the Varsity Sports Show. I'm Reilly Robertson from Arizona State.
This is Nicholas Anderson from the Hanks Greenspun School of Journalism at UNLV, reporting for the Varsity Sports Show. On this week's Independence Day special, I had the pleasure to interview my cousin, David Peak, on his time serving in the military, along with the importance of Independence Day and what that means to veterans. Hear it here first from David Peak himself on his time in the military and why he decided to join the military.
So I'm David Peake. I was in the United States Army as a specialist. I served from July of 2003 to July of 2007. I spent almost 9 months in Iraq from November of 2003 until July of 2004. So just a few months in the combat zone, but it was pretty interesting to say the least.
What was your reason in joining the military in the first place?
Really, I joined because I wanted to serve my country, and I wanted to better myself. I wasn't really doing much at the time with my life, just kind of picking up whatever jobs I could. And once the attacks happened, the 9/11 attacks, that really kind of pushed me to want to join more. And I just wanted to serve.
While serving in the military, David shared some personal stories of what he witnessed in Iraq and discussed the importance of freedom and how grateful we should be to have freedom in America.
There's a lot of things that happen in the military. It really makes you appreciate life and outside of being in the military and what you have, and the true meaning of freedom. You know, while I was in Iraq, you witness a lot of stuff that you wouldn't see here in the United States. Their way of life, the way they do things with their families, and the way that women are treated in Iraq. And you would see a lot whenever we would be on convoys, women or family members being beaten by the fathers. And that was one of the hardest things, because you as a soldier, you really can't intervene with everyday life there. You know, you kind of just have to let those things slide. Now you can stop, or you can try to talk with the family or the father, but most of the time you can never intervene. You know, that was some of the hardest things, seeing things like that. And that was just from, they would do those things because they felt they were disrespected, and because their family name was dishonored. It's a lot different there, because they go, I guess it's by kind of like, if your family's poor, they're always going to be poor. If they're rich, they're always going to be rich. So it's kind of a hierarchy there. So if your family name is what they feel disrespected or dishonored, then that's reason for the father to go ahead and beat you, and sometimes even, you know, take your life, which is kind of crazy. That's very crazy.
While speaking on the true meaning of freedom, David talks about the importance of Independence Day and what that day means to him.
Oh, it's very important. I mean, like I said, that 4th of July to me, it does. It is freedom. It's independence, you know. But it's more than that to me, because like I said before, it's independence that it comes with a cost that I seen firsthand, you know, and that I witnessed firsthand. And it's being with family, being able to enjoy that with your family without, you know, really any concern, because you know that you have soldiers out there that are willing to go and sacrifice and fight for you and do those things. So
David also speaks about the evolution of Independence Day and how Independence Day is evolving over time in a good way and is getting more recognition by the public.
I think that it's in a good way, honestly. We're still progressing as a country, and we're learning every year, and every term with these new presidents. You know, we're learning new stuff as a country, and we're still trying to. You know, I feel like America's still trying to figure it out at this point, because we got a lot of. There's a big mess going on right now. You know, with the people leading the country. But for the most part, a lot of people have become more patriotic, I think, than they were in the past.
With Independence Day meaning so much to veterans across the country, David concluded his message by speaking how the public can better honor the sacrifices made by veterans on the 4th of July, along with a message to the younger generations on the importance of Independence Day.
I think that, I don't know, just be there. Be there for your family members that have served. You know, let them know that you're there for them, no matter what they're going through, and Yeah, I don't know, man. I would say just be there for your family members that have served, and let them know that you're there for them, and that you're there to honor them, because you know this is a day of recognition for soldiers, and soldiers that have sacrificed and been deployed, and even the ones that haven't, they're still sacrificing because they're away from their families all the time. Even when you're not deployed, you're doing training and stuff like that, so it's hard. Um, and they're not recognized when they come back. We're not recognized when we come back. It's just kind of welcome home and get back to work. So July 4th is really a day of honoring these soldiers, and any soldiers that have served previously. And I would say just be there for your family.
As we celebrate Independence Day, I want to give a massive thank you and express my deepest gratitude to David Peak and to all the brave men and women who have served our nation. Our freedom and the values we hold dearly are safeguarded by your sacrifices. We can't thank you guys enough. Happy Independence Day, and thank you. From the Varsity Sports Show, I'm Nicholas Anderson.
All right, guys, we are joined by Ron Roberts. Ron Roberts was a veteran of the United States Air Force, served a few years, lives up in the desert foothills. He's a Valley native, grew up in Cave Creek, attended Scottsdale Saguaro High School, and has been very active in the community. Ron, thank you for joining us here on the Varsity Sports Show. Question for you. Now, the focus of this show is on patriotism, on Independence Day. When you think of Independence Day, what does it mean to you, particularly with your military service?
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's Independence Day is something more than what it really is. I mean, that's the beginning of everything that is in our past. Not only our forefathers fighting for the independence of our nation, but that's continued on as a tradition throughout our history, and it continues on today.
When did you get that itch? At what point did you realize, you know what, I want to join the military? And of all branches, what drew you to the Air Force?
That's a funny question. When I was growing up, there were very few channels on television, and at the end of the broadcast night, they would finish with High Flight, which was an F-404 soaring through the skies, and I said, I want to do that someday.
Okay, and so you joined the Air Force. How soon right out of high school did you join?
Actually, I didn't. I was the oldest guy to go through basic training. I turned too old to be in the Air Force 3 weeks into basic training. So I was 27, and I just wanted to fulfill something that was a lifelong dream, and that was to serve and to fly in some capacity.
Did anything change for you psychologically? I mean, your perception of service, of things that you did in the military that you ended up learning about then, as opposed to before you got in? People always change, thinking always changes, but was there anything significant that went through your mind?
Probably the most significant thing was the advantage that my age gave me over the young enlistees that were 17, 18, 19 years old, because I had a life behind me. I had quite a bit of experience. I realized why they did what they did and the purpose of it, and I learned to really appreciate what they did.
While you were in, how many years did you serve?
9.5.
Okay, so during that 9.5 years, were there any events, anything politically, anything? And I know that soldiers, airmen, sailors, they tend to not really get involved in the politics of anything, but was there anything that really increased your patriotism during that time?
Oh, gee. I was pre 9/11, but I was serving in Germany, came back to the States in April of 90. By August, I was in the Persian Gulf. And while I'd done some operations before that, that was the true wake-up call that we're in this for real, and it's not just a training mission anymore.
What was definitely interesting during the Persian Gulf 1 in 89-90, when that whole thing started, it had felt like we hadn't done it in a while. And did you get that feeling that it was brand new, or it was something that you had trained to be a part of, that you were ready for? I mean, what was that whole atmosphere like?
We were absolutely ready for it. The training that I had experienced, that all of us had experienced over the years, we trained to fight. What was the wake up, I think, for the American people was the level of technology that we could employ. And they used the term back then, shock and awe. Nobody realized how powerful we were. Nobody realized how strong we were. Nobody realized how accurate we were.
When all was said and done and your time was up and you came home, was anything different for you in particular that you remember?
Not really. I planned on serving out my tour then. I wanted to stay in. My wife wanted me to get out. All things happen for a reason. So I was sat on alert. I was supposed to get out in April. I sat on alert until September and found out 7 days before that they released me and I was gone.
Wow. As you look back on your time in the military, would you have done anything different?
No.
Even with the number of years that you did, or?
Well, like I said, everything happens for a reason. My wife wanted me to get out. I was raising our son at the time, my stepson. He ended up going to the same high school that I did. He married his high school sweetheart, got 2 kids. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm good with that.
Okay, so you feel like, you had a purpose when getting out when you did, so that you can be there and be a mentor to your son. Talk a little bit about some of the activities you've engaged in since. You're very active here locally in the Desert Foothills with the American Legion. You ride, you were president of the Cave Creek Museum. How has your military service prepared you for a lot of the volunteer activities that you've had?
Well, I think a lot of it is about giving back. It's about service to community, service to others other than yourself. I was president of the Scottsdale Area Association of Realtors in 2005. When I get engaged, I usually get fully engaged. As you said, I was president of the museum, served as a docent there. I am the new commander of American Legion Post 34, Frank W. Wright here in Cave Creek. Proud of all those things. I continue to serve when I can, where I can, when people want me to.
What message could you pass along to young people today that maybe are kicking the tires potentially on a career in the military, or maybe haven't even considered it?
I think military experience is extremely important to all young people. I flew with some people that when it came time to go to war, they said, gee, I just came here to get an education. Well, they got an education and then some. And it's invaluable. It teaches you so much about yourself. It teaches you so much about others. And it gives you great cause.
Yeah. As you look ahead and you look at the volunteer activities in the community you've had as well, is there anything that can be said that you can pass along to young viewers, young listeners that maybe could be doing more that aren't?
Certainly. We're involved with the Boy Scouts up here in Cave Creek Carefree area. I mean, that's a great thing. We're involved, and I was part of the Veterans Heritage Project. They publish that book every year called Since You Asked, where they interview veterans. I think it's important for young people to get involved in their community and learn from the people in their community. And by the same token, we that have the experience have a responsibility to share that with them. If they learn from it, great. If they make better choices because of it, that's even better.
Do you feel like that there's an opportunity for young people even to get to know veterans that have served, through maybe coming down to the VFW or the American Legion? I mean, how can young people get involved?
Well, they can do that. In fact, we're going to start a program this next year to invite more young people to come here. We've put together a significant military library so they can avail themselves of that. We're going to create the opportunity for young people to come here and sit and interview and talk with veterans, learn about their experiences from different times. We have veterans from Korea, Vietnam, all the way up through our modern day conflicts. So all of them have things to share. And while some people might say, and I would say this, that it's not meant for everybody, everybody would benefit from it, from their experience in the military. There's no question in my mind about that.
All right. Ron Roberts, Air Force veteran, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I remember. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
We'll be interviewing Doc Waters, who is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran.
I'm Pham for the Varsity Sports Show. I'm here with Doc Waters of the Marine Corps. Doc, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, doing well.
Glad to hear that. So, Doc, tell me about your story.
Well, I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, 1981. My first visit to San Diego wasn't really a pleasant experience there at MCRD, but got through it. Spent 10 years active duty Marines, 10 years in the reserves. After I got off active duty, I worked for the Marine Corps as an air traffic controller, taught Marines how to be air traffic controllers at Tustin, El Toro, closed both those bases down, then moved down to Miramar and worked there from 1995 until I retired 5 years ago.
So with Independence Day this week, as Americans celebrate Independence Day, what does that mean to you?
Oh man, that means quite a bit. I did my little part to ensure that we have the freedoms that we all enjoy. And a lot of people take the freedoms for granted, but if you travel around the world and see some other countries, consider yourself very lucky.
Perspective. So, as you served in the Marines, can you tell me some of your favorite memories from your career?
Oh, I better keep it PG here. um, just the friends that I made, the lifelong friends I've made between being stationed in Okinawa, Southern California. Just the quality of people, the people I've met from all walks of life, and it's such a blessing that I was able to make those kind of acquaintances and friends that I'm still in contact with today. That I served with them 40 years ago, and they're still very close friends.
So for you, it's about the friends that you've made throughout your career.
Oh yeah, just the quality of people. Similar mindsets also that we all served at one time and did our little part to ensure the freedoms that we have that we're going to celebrate on the 4th.
So shifting away from your career in the Marines, like what do you like to do, like in terms of hobbies, and what do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I've got a disease called fishing. Um, I've acquired quite a bit of fishing tackle. I've caught my tuna. I've got a nice marlin sitting above my TV in the living room. Plenty of fish in the freezer at all times. So I'll do that. And taking up golf, but my golf game isn't what it should be. That's why when a golf game is really bad, I go fishing.
It's all about practice with golf.
Yeah, practice mindset. And as long as you go out there and you relax and have a good time, it's all that matters.
So with Independence Day, what do you want for people to take away from Independence Day?
Enjoy your freedoms. Don't take them for granted. There's a lot of men and women, past, present, and in the future, that work very hard, make a lot of sacrifices for a lot of the freedoms that a lot of people take for granted.
So, and one last thing on Independence Day, like, what do you look forward most to celebrating July 4th?
Again, the freedoms, but family, getting together with family and friends. We've had cousins from Phoenix. They used to come out here every week over the 4th of July. We spent a lot of time down in Mission Beach. Good times there. The family part of it, but the fireworks and everything that go along with it. But just reflecting a little bit on how lucky we as Americans are.
Reflecting on the history.
Oh, absolutely.
So thank you so much for your insight on Independence Day, sharing some of your stories from your career, and thank you for your service. I really do appreciate your time, and I really do appreciate your insight.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So for the Varsity Sports Show, I'm Pham.
Thank you, Mac. And now Thaddaeus Mitchell will be interviewing U.S. Marine Corps veteran Brandon Watts.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Thaddeus Mitchell from Texas Southern University, and you're listening to the Varsity Sports Show. Today I have my brother Brandon Watts, who's also active in the military and a veteran. How you doing?
Doing all right, and I was active, but I'm a veteran.
Yes, sir. Can you tell us about your military background?
Uh, Went in when I was 17 years old. I did 10 years. Iraqi war veteran. Served in every aspect of the Marine Corps, from the aviation to headquarters to ground. I was 0111, which is administration. When I deployed, I was a convoy coordinator and a convoy escort.
How did your military service shape you as a person?
Um, Military service, if you actually adhere to it, it shapes you in terms of literally being a good person. You know, it shapes you in terms of what to do, how to take commands from other people, how to give commands, how to understand that people are different, that you have actually have to understand different aspects of different type of people and bring all those together in one uniform section.
How can the community better support veterans and their families? What do you think?
Wow. For the community?
Well, how can the community yeah. How can the community better support, like, since you're a veteran, how could they better support you coming out of the military? How could they do a better job? Or what could they change to make it better? Easier, actually.
But you have to understand, most of the community don't know what your background is until you tell them. See what I mean? So pass me on the street, you would never thought that I was a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. You never thought I went to war for this country. So I would say that when you do know specifically who that person was, just have respect for them. You know what I'm saying? Have respect for what they went through, in terms of everybody doesn't go through that. Everybody doesn't know what it took to number one, just serve in the military regardless, let alone be a Marine. So those are two different aspects in and of itself. So just having respect for the uniform. So 9 times out of 10, when people say, you know, they find out I'm a Marine, you know, I have my ring on, you know, XYZ, they'll say thank you for your service. And I always crack the joke, you know, hey, it wasn't a draft military. I kind of volunteered for that butt whipping. So, you know, but at least they say thank you, XYZ. But, you know, once they understand that, they show respect. But just pass me on the street, you wouldn't know. But as far as the community, once they do know, just show respect. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying you got to be humble. You ain't got to bow down, none of that. But understand that we did what we did because we wanted to, not because nobody forced it. So just respect that we went to war for the freedoms and the, you know, things for this country and our families, you know what I'm saying, for these freedoms, justice, all that good stuff. And just understand that when people say, oh, you disrespecting the veterans, ain't nobody disrespecting us when you stand up for your constitutional rights, period. We went for the rights of everybody, not just for the people who decide when and where.
Saying that, what does Independence Day mean to you personally?
You asked me about that earlier, and I had to think about that long and hard. All right, so we do live in this country. Independence Day is celebrated for the independence of the United States of America. And when I say I thought about that long and hard, from Christus Atticus on down the line, we have fought in every major war, whether we were respected when we came back or not. You know, we always had to pave our own way. But we still live here, and we still enjoy these freedoms now, even though we had to fight a little bit harder for them. We still earn that right. So for us, Independence Day is still an independence to live in this country that we live in. And we've been here since the inception. And I got to say that as a Black man, and that's just being honest. When people say, why'd you go to war for a country that don't respect you? You know, certain people don't respect you.
Mm-hmm.
The country does.
Right.
See what I mean? So, I mean, I've experienced a lot more joy than harm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not never a nod to me, because anytime somebody finds out that I was in the military, X, Y, Z, and the third, they do give me respect. They do give me
Right.
that, you know, saying that thank you.
Mm-hmm.
From policemen to everybody. You know, and I still enjoy Veterans Day where I go eat for free. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna knock it. You know what I'm saying? I did my time. So, hey, I go to the outlet malls. I go to Nike. Hey, I get my 10% off. Yeah, you sure right. I show my military ID. I'm finna get that loot. I'm finna get that change up at you. You know? But, you know, at the end of the day, that's not what I went for. But I'm gonna enjoy the fruits of my labor. You know what I mean?
Right.
And being able to go to the VA hospital, and because we have a VA hospital that we can go to. We have loan assistance. We have medical, free education. We have all these things, so the country respects it. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as Independence Day, yeah, you know, I live in this country and I fought for it.
Right.
So we still fight for independence now.
Right.
And that's not talking about people. I'm just still talking about America in general.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today. I really thank you for being on the show with me and being able to take out the time out your day to do this interview with me. And I'd love to interview you again sometime about other topics.
Not a problem.
Well, again, I'm
All right,
Thaddeus
boss.
Mitchell from the Varsity Sports Show, and thank you for listening.
Sergeant Brandon Watts, United States Marine Corps. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Thad. That's the end of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to thank a service member or veteran this 4th of July for fighting for our freedom and keeping us free since 1776. It's been a great 200 plus years, and I hope for another great 200 plus years for this country. Thank you guys again for watching. Have a great 4th of July.